You're watching All To Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Hello and welcome to All To Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral, with me, Steve Sidwell, and paddle enthusiast Joe Cole. Joining us today is a former Reading teammate of mine, a proper defender who once won the League Cup, the European Cup Winners' Cup, and the European Super Cup all in one season. It's a pleasure to have him on the show. It's the one and only Michael Duberry. Dubes.
Thank you very much.
How are you, mate? You good?
Good. The COVID, hello.
And one of my favourite players growing up watching Chelsea.
Proper.
He was coming through with him and Frank and Andy Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was there watching.
Didn't know that.
Many a time.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's where he got his resilience from.
Yeah. And his skills.
Dave, just quickly, what's so you're going into, or you've been doing motivational speaking and keynote speaking at the minute. Just to elaborate on that and tell us more about that.
I qualified as an executive coach, so I'm going to businesses and give like coaching executives, young executive directors on just setting goals, something that we all know about. We took for granted, beginning of the season you set goals and people don't really set goals. So go in there and help them, change them, make people better, understand them, give them self-awareness. And also I deliver keynote speaking, motivational speaking to individuals, teams, just helping people getting better, just doing what I know in using football, my life skills, and just delivering that to individuals and teams. It was a little bit difficult, but I enjoyed it. We all like challenges. So for me, it's a challenge. And part of the reason is I want to set a path, be one of the pioneers. Footballers can retire and say, okay, we can go on TV, we can be a co-com, but actually we can be an executive coach because he's done it. We could be that one because he's done it. So I wanted to be a little bit of a pioneer and pave the way.
Well, look, talking about transitional periods and tough times, you broke into, let's go right back to Chelsea. You broke into the Chelsea first team as a teenager in a real transitional period because Glenn Hoddle had just become player manager and he persuaded Ruud Gullit to sign. We're going way back here. What was it like at such a young age being with people in that iconic status in terms of Glenn and Ruud Gullit?
So I was a YTS. Those don't know YTS, like your scholars, going right back. And then I got my pro contract on my first year. So I was 17. Got a pro contract, and back then, if your YTS is a pro, everyone's like, he's a pro. That's a big thing. I was a pro, so I was a pro. Then Glenn Hoddle coming as manager. Graham Ricks was my youth team manager. It was like Glenn Hoddle. Glenn Hoddle was Glenn Hoddle. He's the icon. He's the David Beckham iconic figure before. It's like Glenn Hoddle. So he's there. I think Glenn Hoddle was the first manager, maybe the last manager I was ever scared of. I wanted to do so well for Glenn Hoddle, impress him. When he signed, I was scared because I was this big, strong defender, not skillful. One thing, he's going to want me to ping it 60 yards, do skills. I ain't got that in the locker. If he wants me to head it, defend it, and stop goals, I can do it. And then, so I was doing well in the youth team. And then I started training with the first team, but playing with Glenn Hoddle, he used to play a little bit still. So he pass you the ball, but he wouldn't just pass you the ball, he put all this spin on it. So he's passing the ball, and I'm thinking, and it's like getting away, going, I'm like, pass it simple then, but you can't do that. Do you know what I mean? He's playing it. So it was like, you always wanted to impress him. And then I went on, I played my first game because they got into the cup final 94. He gave me my debut in that build-up before the cup final, just because it was playing teams, played against Coventry, Peter and Love. I must have got cramp after 6 minutes. I was adrenaline and everything. I counted the clock down. The old Matthew Harding stand used to have a clock there. I counted that down. I'm feeling cramp. I think I can't get cramp. I can't think I'm unfit. And I didn't play again after that. I went on loan to Bournemouth. And then I come back. He brought me back for my second debut. I played against Leeds, and then that was my run into the team. So I was doing really well. I was playing well, and all of a sudden now, you're in the change room, and then down the corridor of Harlington, the university Harlington, Ruud Gullit's walking down the corridor, Ruud Gullit, the icon, Ruud Gullit, minus the moustache though, minus the moustache. But thinking, oh my God, this is Ruud Gullit. Do you know what I mean? He's someone you watch in the Euros, the AC Milan. He's your teammate. Okay, lovely boy. Do you know what I mean? So it's Ruud Gullit, and then from there, just the Mark Hughes. Excuse me. Yeah. Again, another icon. You're playing with Mark Hughes, and all these players are someone that's 2 years ago, watching them on TV, idolising them, thinking, oh my God, you know what I mean? Looking at Sparky's fires are even bigger in real life, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, so you're having to remain grounded.
Yeah.
They're your teammates, but all I kept thinking is like, I want to make him think that I'm a good player. I'm a good player, do you know what I mean? And not be the weak link in the team, I'm a good player. I'm not sure if Ruud ever did, to be fair. But like, that's what I was thinking, so...
So did that stay with you? Did you ever feel comfortable and confident in and around, like, because obviously say there's big names coming through the door, sort of, you know.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. Like my mindset and all for my like when I walked into Chelsea at 17, I had to think I'm the best defender. There's Paul Elliott there, Erling Johnson, Frank was more established, Jason Cundy, but I said I'm the best defender. And when all the stars started coming in, my thing was they don't give the team what I give them. There was no legs, there was no pace, there was no grit, there was no... They don't give them what I give them. So that was my confidence on what I gave the team. So I was comfortable and confident in that. Do you know what I mean? I just played... My always thing was play to my strength. Is like, that's what I give the team. I'm not going to do the Frank LeBoeuf and ping it 60 yards. I try that in a game, it go, oh, I hear the growth. Keep it simple. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to give him that. But what Frank can't give the team... I can give the team. So that was my confidence and that's what I gave the team.
Dubes, like, just to paint a picture, because we got a lot of younger listeners, and Chelsea at the time, I don't think they can appreciate where it was and how it must have been when you got icons like Ruud and Glenn coming through the door. Was there any clashes of ego of all these big players, or did everyone just muck in? Or
you know what, people like say they see Chelsea now, and Chelsea got a big history despite the shouts that go out. But I believe that Glenn Hoddle was the foundation of what you see today. 100%. In the mindset he set. Jose took it a little bit further, and everyone's taking it further still. But when he brought Ruud in, it was like wow, and everyone was appreciative, and everyone knew where it was going. I think that everyone wanted to move forward. We still had players like Wisey was there, John Spencer was there. We still had players that were good players and a good team. Inconsistent, that was a problem, for a while. And that's why, did so well in cup competitions, league competitions, we was inconsistent. There was no real egos as such. I think that come a little bit later when the big stars did come, under Ruud and maybe Luca. But when Glenn first was taken over, there was no real egos. There was clashes where people maybe were going out and people coming in, but there was no real... Everyone just wanted to win, and everyone embraced what Glenn was doing and wanted to be part of it. And that was the thing, you wanted to be part of it and staying there in a team with Ruud Gullit, Dan Petrescu, you know what I mean? So it was there. So
in a way, Glenn kind of set the precedent of going, right, this is how to play, this is how we're going to train. And then when the stars come in, then you start seeing them, whatever they're eating or training or, their pre-apps or activations or the way they just compose themselves on the training ground just lifts everyone else.
Definitely. Glenn even with the eating, the yoga and just the little small things he took when he was in France and come out here, the continental style, and embraced that, and everyone's starting to embrace it. And then, obviously, Ruud come in. I'm not sure, did Glenn bring Gus Poyet? Was it Ruud that brought Gus Poyet? But Dan Petrescu, and it was just little bits were coming in. It wasn't just an overload. It was just little bits, and then then Ruud took over. Then he brought a little bit more.
What was it like? Obviously, Ruud was your teammate. Then Glenn left. Then Ruud's become player manager. So
it was awful.
What was... how does that... I don't know if Joe, you can go into it as well about player manager, but how did that feel? What was he like to play under?
So, Ruud was... Ruud was like the player, and he was like... I remember to tell you a funny story. So, when Ruud first come over, Ruud Gullit, I remember he said, he used to go to Frank's player, Frank, I want to go out. I want to go clubbing in London. Take me. Frank's like, Ruud, no, come. He used to pester Frank to go clubbing, right? So Frank would take him out and he'd phone Frank, I want to go out tonight. Frank's like, Ruud, come on. So Frank would take Ruud to these clubs, Frank, Ruud, So then all of a sudden now, remember, Ruud was the manager, and first meeting. Okay, everyone, I'm the manager now. This isn't. And you, Frank? No more going out for you. But I'm taking you out. No more going out for you. And stitching him up. And I remember we had the season. There was rumours that I think Glenn had just left to go England. And I went to these football awards. It was at I can't remember where it was. It was at the Hippodrome. It's like football awards. I remember getting an award from Ant and Deck. The Shoot Awards, Young Player of the Year. I just think because Ryan Giggs and Robbie Fowler couldn't make it, so they give it to the next person. I was in London, so I got the Shoot Awards Young Player of the Year. So I was on the table. Ruud was there. I was with my girlfriend at the time, Eddie Newton and some other people. And the after party was at Emporium. So I'm like buzzing. I've got this little golden Subuto man walking around like it's World Cup. I'm busting shapes this place. We're in this VIP area. Ruud's going, hey, if I become manager, I change you. What are we talking about? Like, change me? I've got.
Yeah.
Goes, yeah, you're too stiff. Ooh, I'm like, all right. No, you're stiff. You're stiff. Like, you're English stiff. You can't. You have to change. I'm like, Ruud, I've just won this because he's my teammate. Ruud, I've just won this, man. All right, I'm busting shapes. Like, no. And even Eddie's going, Ruud, leave it. He becomes manager. And then he becomes manager, and he's like, he changed, and it's like, he had this this air of like, he become like distant, arrogant, and he wasn't the same Ruud I was teammates with, approachable, and then in his head he had this thing where he'd play at the back and play with Frank Leboeuf. Remember I said earlier, I thought I'd give the team balance where there was pace, there was strength, there was a little bit of grit at the back, and he wanted to play with Frank Leboeuf. And I remember one time I think we played Ipswich, and he wasn't playing. I didn't play. You know, the English ways, don't play, you go and see the manager. Like, Gaffer, I want to know why I'm not playing. Played Ipswich in a cup or something, and then I didn't play. So I went to, they did training, you know, and then in Harlington, you got the change rooms there and your dressing room, and it looks about on the training field. And he's standing in there, so I'm looking for him. Oh, he's in the dressing room. So he's there. I said, like, knocked on the door. Ruud, can I have a word?
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. So I thought, all right. So I waited a little bit. And like you think it's Ruud. So I'm thinking, oh my God, like getting like angry now. Like he turns up, what is it, lovely boy? So I'm like, I just want to know why I'm not playing. Why you didn't play? Why you didn't play? Why you didn't play? And he's walking towards me. Because I had a plan and walked out. And I'm fuming now, and I think Gwyn or Rich was in the change room, like, calm down. I'm like, what? Like, take that. Yeah. And then he had this, like, you know, and there was a few of them clashes where he just, whether he didn't like, you know, I think he had this thing with English anyway. He had this stigma of like the English player, the English defender, you know, being stiff and can't play where he, you know, the continental defender. He had Frank Leboeuf that, like, you know, maybe exempted what he was trying to say. Yeah. And, you know, I went to see him again one time, and I remember telling this story to my son. I was like, you know, he was saying, Ruud Gullit. I go, Ruud Gullit? So I went to see him in the manager's office. He said, Ruud, like, I just want to know what's going on with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you keep starting. He goes, okay. And he's behind his desk, you know, leaning back, and he said, okay, lovely boy. It was lovely boy, lovely boy. At the moment, Chelsea is here, and you are here. And if you don't get to here, you'll be out there. Oh. And I'm sitting there, man. I'm like, okay, lovely boy. So, like, yeah. So it was, you know, it wasn't like the Ruud as a player.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
yeah,
wow.
That's
like,
what I was going to say.
And then Ruud as a manager. Yeah.
So when he went into management, sorry, Joe, when he went into management, it sounds like he didn't have the communication skills or the empathy to communicate with players. It sounds like he was still on that sort of.
You know what it is?
Player.
I always think that he come from AC Milan, didn't it? So in AC Milan, when you didn't play, what coming after you didn't ask questions because they had this thing.
Yeah.
And obviously the culture here was more of you didn't play, you give an explanation, like whether it's a lie, whether you give an explanation. And I just didn't feel he needed to. So when he got sacked, and the rumour was because players went in and spoke to Ken Bates on him. For me, it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a surprise that, you know, players were like, you know, and then when he won the FA Cup, it heightened his belief of what he was. Listen, he'd done well for the club and all that sort of stuff, but I just think that way he managed didn't work. And obviously you saw in Newcastle, it did the same thing, that, you know, that I don't have to explain myself sort of mentality.
Yeah.
I mean, on a much lesser scale, I finished my career in Tampa Bay Rowdies, and the manager got the sack, and they give the job to the centre half, like my pal, and he asked me to be player assistant manager, and it's tough because like we was literally having a night out in Puerto Rico with the lads, like, and I'm like, there we got the tequilas out, it's all like similar to Ruud, with great time, I'm mates with them. Then all of a sudden, like, my pal's the manager, I'm the player assistant manager, and the relationship becomes tricky then. But I sort of went the other way. I was like to Neil, the manager, I said, look, I can't change in the manager's change room. I still got to change in the players. I said, and they like, and we had like in front of the players, it was a distant relationship, although we talked about everything, but it's tough to talk to them because I'm hearing everything in the dressing room. It's a tough position. But Ruud went on after that at Newcastle. I think he went to LA, and it's never really worked for him as a manager, really. He's never quite got that. The community, like, doesn't seem like he's got it.
I don't think he's got the people skills, the empathy, the understanding, and maybe it's difficult, you know, and just that player to manager. But like, it was hard for Ruud, but it's even harder for Luca, because Luca was lost.
That's what I want to come on to, literally, because you're going Glenn, player manager, Ruud Gullit, player manager, then you go again 3 in a row, Luca Vialli, player manager. So you played with him then. So I mean, what was that like, that transition?
With Luca, I had a good relationship with Luca, and like, really good. And I remember Ruud used to do this thing. So he used to have this thing when he was manager, that all the young English players had to go and do this skill circuit before training. Like, so training starts at 10:30, you lot out at 10, you're doing this skill circuit. Bit of a like kicking the nuts, because everyone's doing it. And then you had like the Roberto Di Matteo and all of that lads are laughing. And he was like, bloody hell.
That's dreadful, that.
Yeah.
That's like that.
Yeah. And so then, but Gianfranco Zola and Luca said, come, we'll do it with you. So for us now, it's like, don't mind that. So it's like a little bit, give a little bit of kudos to it. Like, okay, come boy, just do it. And they didn't say, come, just do it. Just don't let him see you rise. He just did it with us. And that always stuck with me. And then when Luca become manager, the way his approach, you know, he changed, put his emphasis on things more on the diet and, you know, his regime, stretching, how he spoke, more meetings. You know, his football IQ was brilliant. But I got on well with him. He's honest and open. But he found it tough. He found it tough because he was everyone's mate. He was everyone's mate. Everyone loved Luca. He's in there, you know, jokey. But I think he did a good job. But if he had that little bit of steel to even more distance, I think he'd have done even better.
Do you think he found it tough? Because when I look back at Vialli at Chelsea, I remember him playing quite a lot. But I don't know whether it was in that player-manager period, but did he seem to pick himself quite a lot when he was player-manager?
He played himself in Europe.
Just in the big games?
Yeah, he played himself a lot in Europe. In Europe football, he played himself a lot, started himself a lot.
Right.
But justified, he'd done well. Like, when I used to watch him and watch his runs were unbelievable.
Yeah,
like,
his movement
was like brilliant. And in, like, you know, Spark, because remember, we had Sparky himself, Torre Andre Flo, Zola, but he played himself in Europe a lot, and then Sparky played a lot in the domestic games, but it was difficult. And he had Rixie and Ray like on the bench, his eyes and ears, and he trusted them with decisions. But it was tough for him.
Did you expect him to be so successful? I mean, won the FA Cup, the League Cup, Winners' Cup, and the Super Cup as a Chelsea manager. Did you see him or foresee him being big silverware now with?
I mean, to be fair, when he
charge?
took over, we was in 2 semi-finals, which was like to sack Ruud at the time. It was crazy. You know, we're in 2 semi-finals, and he took over.
Sorry, dudes. What was the reason Ruud got the sack at that time? It must have been off the pitch stuff. It can't have been.
I think just the players that like. Listen, it's not confirmed, but my thing I understand is that there was a meeting between Ken Bates and the senior players.
Really?
And it was like, you know,
player unrest.
Yeah, it's like maybe lost the dressing room or whatever. I didn't have a say. I mean, if I had a say, if I was in that meeting, I don't know what I'd have said. Yeah, Ken. Yeah, do what you got to do, Ken. So, I mean, I don't know what I said. We're sitting there like young lad going, yeah, he wasn't nice to me either. Yeah.
But, right, dudes, it's time for What Really Happened. So I want to go back to a moment in your career and we want to know more about it. So I want to take you back to 1998. Chelsea had already won the League Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup that season, and now you're in the European Super Cup final against the mighty Real Madrid.
Okay, yeah.
Is it true that you played right midfield instead of centre-back in that game?
No.
Played centre-back?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Someone's in trouble. That's man.
No. On the team sheet, there's Marcel, isn't there?
Yeah.
Desailly,
Yeah.
Leboeuf. So did you play three at the back?
No, so so this is why I love Luca even more. The build up to that was sign Marcel, World Cup winner. I'm like, oh God, I'm out of this place. So we're in Monaco, you do the training, and then he's pulled me. He's gone, Dubs, on the word. I'm thinking, oh God, here it comes. And he pulled me and said, know what? I said, for what you got us here last year, so you're going to start. Marcel's going to start in midfield. So Marcel played midfield, and I played alongside Frank. So that was one of the things that happened.
So going into that game, I mean, look, just going to tell you some of the names in this Real Madrid team: Raul, Roberto Carlos, Seedorf, Panucci, Redondo, Hierro, Mijatovic.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a good team as well, Chelsea.
Yeah.
But did you go into that thinking?
No, I mean, I'm listen, again, young. I'm thinking playing Real Madrid. We're playing Real Madrid. That's all I was thinking. And funny enough, build up. We was with Martinique. We had this. Chelsea organised this after cup tour in Martinique. So I've won 3 cups, but never done an open tour bus. We never had one in Chelsea for them. After we won the Cup Winners' Cup and the League Cup, we went straight to Martinique for this paid thing. So it was like a bit of a piss up, really. And then remember watching the Champions League final, Juventus versus Real Madrid, and Luke was watching, and obviously he's wanting Juve to win. He's going to play Juve, and he's like, big thing for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's a bit teary when Real Madrid won. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
grow up. And then we got to the final. So I'm like, we're playing Real Madrid. Like, it's a prestige. I'm like, I want to play Real Madrid. It's like, and obviously Raul and Morientes, and just doing well, and think again, I ain't going to be the weak link here. They're not going to lose it because of me. And just playing, it's like, you're in Monaco, the famous Monaco Stadium. Yeah. After game, everyone's mates, and all the internationals, they're all like, double kissing the mates and that. And I'm there, not really knowing anyone. You're right, do you know what I mean? And like, they're all swapping shirts. I thought, I've got to get a shirt. So I remember giving our kit man, I think it was Aaron. Yeah, Aaron, go and get a shirt first. So you remember, he went on to knock to the Real Madrid change room, like me and Jody, give our shirts in. We went in change room, come back. Who'd you get? Just give us our shirts back. Like,
Oh, no.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, no one wanted my shirt.
I remember the goal. It was Gus. Gus scored the winner. A lovely strike.
Yeah.
During that time, from where we've gone through with Ruud and Glenn, Ruud Vialli, and then now all that success, there was a lot of names that come in, but Wisey was a mainstay, wasn't he, throughout that period as well?
The rat. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
The rat.
what? How important was he in terms of just keeping everyone in line, or keeping everyone in check, or how did he sort of control the dressing room?
I think that he was his presence was just to give it that balance and that the some consistency in what's gone on. He did earn and play to give the team again something they didn't have, that little bit of still that voice, because not everyone was that vocal. But in meetings there was Sparky didn't say a lot on the pitch, but in meetings, what he said, I always remember, like, what he said was like, and then that's Sparky speaking. Marcel was the same, like, he was vocal, but when he spoke, he was like, there was, Roberto, Frank Leboeuf, Gus, he was, he'd say some stuff. So everyone was vocal in what they had to say, and Wisey was in that, and he was the voice and the face of the team. He just give it some consistency of, maybe having that core of the club, the English representation. He stayed there for a fair bit. So he had some importance there.
Did you think Wisey, because obviously I'm watching Chelsea then, I'm just breaking into the team around 98, 99 at West Ham, but for me, Wisey was so important because, like you said, you had the English lads, you had all the foreigners, the superstars, and the fans. And Wisey seemed to me from the outset like he'd be the glue that stuck everyone together.
He was a connection, wasn't he? From the young players, people seen him there, and he was that link. The foreign players, Wisey, English international, and was part of that core, so he's in there. The management staff, he was the voice. The fans could associate because they've been through this journey with him when he first come, and he was the face. So he was very important for it all to blend together. And remember, he's he transformed his game, like he evolved his game, you know, from being the wide man when he first come in to putting crosses into being in there, integral part, you know, voice, you know, not getting sent off and having his. Listen, he's still done his little bits and pieces, didn't he? But he's a bit more clever with it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So he was integral part of that
He's
time.
a better player than what people remember.
Yeah.
Like, he was a proper good player. He was unlucky, like, at that time of England, you had, like, Gaza, Incy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember
he only played a few times.
The big game that you played in when he put the ball through for Zola.
Yeah.
Zola ran onto
Yeah, the Cup Winners' Cup final.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the Cup Winners' Cup final.
A check on it, didn't it?
Great player.
When obviously all the foreigners coming over, all the youngsters coming through with Wise as well, did he start the initiation? Was there initiations back then?
You know what? There was
songs going out, drinks?
There's a few. I remember, like, we used to, like, so when all the foreigners come in, we used to, the young players, we used to call ourselves the Rebels. That was me, Jody, Andy Myers, Frank, and we had we used to call ourselves the Rebels, right? We had our change room at the end, and we had Sparky was Grandad Rebel, honorary Grandad Rebel, right? We had like the Rebels, like the English, like we used to call ourselves the Rebels, and I remember that we always like sitting there change room at the end, and we always like go, you know what? All right, so every day we just go, we get a young lad in. So all the players, and you had the young lad in. You had to like, you got 2 minutes to make 3 people laugh. What do you mean?
I remember this.
Just go.
Pressure.
And then like, they're sitting there, 30 seconds gone, they're going, what do you mean? Like 45? And if you didn't, like, they're like whip with the towels or barming. And then so it was that sort of thing. And I remember we could never find JT. And like years later, it's like, listen, in the morning when I heard, like, get a young lad, he used to just go and hide in the toilets, don't do his duties, you weren't getting in there. And sometimes Wise was part of that. But the singing bit become a little bit later on.
Right.
The singing bit come a little bit later on, to be fair.
So you go to Leeds after that, and in 2001 they're in a semi-final of the Champions League, and 3 years later on they're relegated to the Championship. So what was it like being at Leeds in that topsy-turvy time? It was Peter Ridsdale, was it that sort of
Yeah,
thing?
I mean, Peter Ridsdale was playing Championship Manager on his PC, weren't he? He was just buying everything, and then he just thought, I'll shut that down. But it was the journey. Like when I went to Leeds, I liked what was going on. At Chelsea, it was like I wasn't playing. I wanted to play, and I had this kid coming through. I can't remember. I don't know. Got on his career, John Terry. I don't know what he's doing now. So it was like a sort of thing I just wanted to play, and at Leeds it was like the competition was just as fierce in the end. You know, had Lucas, Rio, Woody, Dom, like. And then
you've run into some young top players coming through.
Yeah. So when I went there, it was me, Lucas, and Woody, and was playing. I went there, and I kind of like got outdone with the same sort of loyalty that got me playing in the Cup Winners' Cup, Super Cup, where David O'Leary said, "I'm going to start Woody and Lucas because what I'd done last year." So fair enough, I'd succeeded with something like that, breaking into the team, done well, got into the team, Achilles injury. Then by that time, they'd signed Dom and Rio. So now I'm like, I'm starting from even further back. But the club was just on this rise and it was doing so well. And for, I'm not a fan, but like the fans might think that journey, like, Champions League semi-final, which unlucky to lose this, like these players and was doing so well, challenging at the top. And with just one unsuccessful season, you start selling assets, and we're picking up the papers over everyone else thinking £89 million in debt. How's that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So no players had no idea.
No, we had that
stable.
No, and then we having a meeting, and they're telling us we got, where they're we got we can't pay. You have to defer some of your wages, and we're saying okay, we'll defer 25%. Some people over this bracket will defer 25%. They're going, no, got to be 60%. 60%, 20, like is a back and forth, and then players go in, and more players go in, and you're making do that. Like the manager's changing, more players go in. And I remember that season, I think it was Peter Reid. He come in, kept us up, and then the next season it was just like even though we had Mark Viduka still, Alan Smith, Dom. Was Jason Wilcock. We had like still some players, but it was just like such unrest that was there. In the end, it was like I love Leeds and love the place and I love the club and love my time there. But in the end, it was like really bad because obviously there was my court case bit there that had the factions of the fan that didn't take to me anymore. Again, when I signed for Leeds, I didn't realise that Leeds and Chelsea hated each other. I didn't have a clue. Someone should have shown me that 1970 Cup final. Like, you know what I mean? But no one told me, right? So then that didn't really help. You know what I mean? It's Chelsea, London boy. And then all of a sudden now, there was the club going down. And then they're looking at the people left thinking, oh, you lot are greedy, you got all these big wages, and there's a bit in the paper like that we're greedy. So then they looked at the players that are still there when they're in the championship, thinking you're taking our club. So it become a little bit like, whew. I love it for the club. I love the club. I think it's brilliant. You know, great memories there, especially like the good times. Like, you know,
they were good times.
Yeah,
now that changing room, the players, you were riding the wave, you was playing Ellen Road,
unbelievable.
Rocking.
Oh, listen, the characters, you know, Rio, Robbie Fowler, Robbie Keane, Kells, like Age, Mark Viduka, like, you know, we had the bats, like the mixture of it all was just like, you know, and training was just like, I was saying to my son the other day, like, you know, people don't realise that sometimes a game is quite easy compared to training, because training, the levels when the players you're training with, like, makes that games are easy. Like, it's intense. Like, every day, like, can't have a day off when you're not marking Robbie Fowler, Mark Viduka, but you got Anna Smith, Harry Kewell, do you know what I mean, or Michael Bridges, and it's just like the training was immense.
Just quickly before we go on, I just want to get a quick description of what it's like playing for Leeds at Ellen Road in the Premier League when it's absolutely bouncing. Is that one of the best atmospheres?
Yeah. And Ellen Road, like, when it's rocking, is unbelievable. One of my best games is at Ellen Road, but it was a night game. Rainy Yorkshire day, like we played AC Milan in the Champions League, and I just remember, like, it was like night games, like floodlit, the stadium, do you know what I mean, marching all together, you know what I mean, and like, it's there, it's rain, your shirt's soaked, unbelievable place to play.
It's a special ground, isn't it? It is a special.
It is. Yeah. Well, let's down Premier League. Who's been your player of the season so far this season? Currently, at the moment, for the Premier League.
Well, I think
Premier League chat.
Do you know what, mate? A few weeks ago, we said Bernardo Silva. I know but it can only be one man for me. I think he's the best player in the world at the moment. It's Mo Salah. He's having 4 weeks off playing in African Nations Cup. Yeah. But I think he's still top of the scoring charts. He's, I love him, Sidney. Yeah. I absolutely love him. I think he's, I don't think anyone will ever get close to Messi in his prime. I think that's going to be a long, long time before we see that kind of level. But he's the closest I've seen to it at the moment. How long he can sustain this, some of the goals he scored are incredible. Yeah.
Dupes, player so far that stood out or that's right up there?
Yeah, listen, Salah for me, again, like I think Joe said, you just, as a player, like you just can't stop him. Like you just, he's undefendable. You can't stop him. But I'll tell you a player that I just like watching is Cancelo for Man City.
Yeah, baller.
I just love watching him. Like, as defender. I know, like, the fullbacks now are just an integral part of any team, but I just love watching him, what he does with a ball, and for me, every time I watch him, like, I love watching this player play.
Yeah, proper player. I think Dec's been up there, mate, for me. I know, listen, Mo Salah's gone right up there. I think Declan Rice has stood out.
Where do you think the ceiling is for Dec? And no, from a midfielder's perspective, City, like, obviously we've seen him play holding midfielder. We've seen him, the shackles come off and him go and score goals, especially in Europe. Where do you see him as his best position?
Well, there's that new stat that's come out now, isn't there? That's been released about him. He's carried the most meters or distance with the ball, which you wouldn't associate with Dec beforehand. But the thing that I like about him is that he's improving, isn't he? Yeah. Season in, season out. He's only 22. Even like week to week, you can just see him getting stronger and stronger. If he starts adding goals to his
and he can, by the way,
and he can strike the ball. Yeah, he's got a lovely technique. If he starts adding goals,
I like him as a player. I just think, for me, like any player, that the test will be when there's expectation. Do you know what I mean? At the moment, everything he does is bonus. He carries the team, but when there's an expectation where you have to play 8 out of 10, you have to. Like, there's no like, oh, you had 8 out of 10, brilliant, but that's your benchmark, and then we want more. So when you put expectation and demand on the player, it changes your mindset straight away. Do you know what I mean? Of the goal, we have to win. We it's not like, oh, it'd be great. It changes.
That's a good
point. I know he's an international when he's getting that when he's in England, but week in, week out,
can you?
That's a
good point, because it's the mental strain of having that week in, week out. Like, I know we've seen Deck cope with it with England. I have no doubt he will cope with it, but that's not like, you know, for people who are looking after him, like just next time, whether it's at West Ham next year and West Ham go and buy 4 or 5 players and they compete and then the expectations change, or whatever he decides, I think he needs to be prepared for that. And I think he is, because we know him, he's a great lad. But that's a great point. Yeah. When it's that weight of expectation every week, is very different.
Yeah. Well, talking of weight of expectations, top 4 this year. Now, we just saw it there about Liverpool, Salah, and Man City, Cancelo, West Ham. Who do you think will be? I mean, you got to be looking at the top 4: Man City, Chelsea, and
Man City,
and
Chelsea, Liverpool, and I just believe that. I think that Man United will just creep in there. I just think they just find a way and creep in there. I think again, West Ham start. You know, the history suggests that they'll tail off at the end of the season, because again, for them players that demand all year, it might just tail off, whether they can get over the line. The Arsenals and the Spurs, there's a lot going on for them. I just think that, so I think Man United will creep in.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And the main reason I agree with you, Dubes, is I watched Spurs are absolutely miles off it against. I did the game against Chelsea, and it was like. And I spoke to Conte afterwards. We interviewed him, and I think he's under no illusions at the task ahead with that group of players.
There's a lot of talk at the minute about him. People are saying that he could walk in the season if he doesn't get. Do you really think that could happen? That's a possibility.
Do you know? I had one question to ask him, and
did you ask him that?
I asked him. No, I'm scared. I'm scared. But I'm not asking him this, and they didn't pay me enough. So anyway, he's gone. I said to him, obviously 3 times they've lost to Chelsea. They've not scored a goal, but I said the distance is what it is. I said, are you hopeful to do business now in January or in the summer? And he immediately, like a good manager, took control of the interview, and he said, no, listen, this is a 3-year project. He said, at least. He said, I'm happy with my players. They fought so hard, but you can see the difference. Right. Like, I thought it was brilliant. He was honest. And by saying that, it's almost saying to Daniel Levy, like, come on, what can I do with this group of players? I thought, and apparently, because after the games, wherever broadcaster you interview him, apparently he was asked the same question, and he was quite bang with it. It's a 3-year project. So from that suggests to me he is staying as long as Daniel Levy shows him the money. Okay,
other end of the table, relegation. Who's your 3 to go down? I mean, Norwich have got out of it, and they're out there at the moment. Burnley are rooted down there.
Burnley. I think Burnley. I just think that they've done so well in the past seasons to just stay away from it, and I just think now sometimes it's a bit harder now. They're in it, so you down there. It's a horrible place to be.
Watford. I know Roy Hodgson's just gone in. Do you think it's too late?
I think it's too late for Watford. I mean, Roy going in there, he's got a tough job. I watched them see the 8 they don't look like a group with any kind of cohesion. But he's done it down there. Yeah, I mean, Roy, you've had some some good years under him, but you know what he's going to bring in. But it's important for Roy who he brings in around him, the coaching staff. So I think Watford, I think Norwich will get sucked back in.
Yeah,
I do.
So Burnley, Watford.
I think it's. Yeah, and I think as well, if Everton don't get this, and I want to throw it out, if they don't get the manager right this time, that could be like, we could have a big club lose.
And I think that when you get those sort of players that ain't got that dogs, in them, like to fight, that's a worry.
There's these 6 or 7 players in that Everton dressing room. If the right manager don't come in, they could, once it gets to February, they could be eyes on May thinking, well, I'm going to go to Sevilla or I'm going to go to... You know what I mean? So he's right. Dude's right. There's be a few
their hamstring.
So Newcastle, you think they could be safe? They could get out of it?
I'm going to stick strong with my belief in Eddie Howe. I've said when he come in, I thought he was the right man, didn't I? And I know it ain't been plain sailing, and they haven't brought as many players in as we all expected. I still think there'll be 2 or 3 new faces coming in before the end of the season, like your Dele Allis, Jesse Lingards, maybe the Sven Botman from Lille.
A lot of people are saying they need, again, it's a balance, isn't it? When you're down that relegation, you need grit, you need determination, you need resilience, you need these people.
Yeah.
But you also need people that are brave, that's going to get on the ball and create
bravery.
Something. So
you need
the
brave
Cantwells or the Jesse Lingards, the Dele Allis, although they're
flair, but they want to get the ball. You just want someone just to get on the ball.
Yeah.
Like, listen, get the ball, just do your thing, lead it. Like someone start showing the way rather than everyone like just being a bit like safe. I don't want to that whole going through a game of not wanting to make a mistake rather than I want to win the game. The mentality needs to be different.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when playing at Chelsea for 7 years, we was always at the top end of the table. But at West Ham, you know, I've got relegated at West Ham, and also had a couple of near misses as well. So I've had some success. And you're right, bravery is the key word, because you'd be surprised. You see some experienced top players not wanting to get the ball. I remember at West Ham, the season we went down, getting a corner in front of the chicken run, and there was about 3 lads who just didn't want to go over there because the fans were irate and they were getting on it, was losing the game heavily at home. And it's amazing. You almost in January, if you're looking at a relegation battle, that's like top of like your list of priority character. What's the character like? You know.
Wow. Yeah. Right, we're talking of relegating. Some Coral odds for you. We haven't spoke about them, but it's 6-1 if you think Dubes' old club Leeds will get relegated, and West Ham to get in the top 4. Coral will give you odds of 9-1. So good odds there.
Yeah.
Right, time for the Super Series. It's concentrating on Cardiff versus Forest. That's the pick of the Coral Super Series this week. I'm going to ask you both 4 simple questions. Quick fire answers, please, okay? Who will win the match? It's Cardiff versus Forest at Cardiff.
Forest.
Forest, yep.
I'm going to go with Forest.
Yep, Forest away win. Who will score the first goal? Cardiff or Forest?
Player or team?
Player or team? Player.
Lewis Grabban.
He actually done really well, hasn't he?
He
bangs goals in the Championship, doesn't he?
He's one of them good Championship goal scorers. A steady bet for anyone out there.
I like him.
Yeah.
Didn't Forest just sign someone on loan? I just see he scored the other day. I can't remember his name.
Oof, I have to wait for the stats man to come back with that
one. Wait. He's on his lunch break. He's on his lunch break. Yeah.
Get on the ball.
Oh, wait. No, we ain't got the 5G. Yeah, we just wait. Yeah.
How many corners will there be in the game?
I'm gonna change it up today, Siddy. I'm gonna go 7.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. First time.
He normally says 11. I don't know.
I'll go with 9.
All right. Okay. How many players will get carded? How many cards in the game?
Oh. Go 5.
5.
2. Nice.
2. Okay. Well, look. Talking of stats, Joe, we've added up the times you've got these questions right and the times our guests have got questions right. How well do you think you've done?
Me against you?
No, the guests.
Oh, me against the guests?
Yeah. If we've added it all up.
God. All right, okay. Surely I've got to be ahead.
You are.
Am I?
You are ahead.
Listen,
how many points? How many times do you reckon you got it right?
3 times?
Oh, no, more than that, mate.
Really?
8. You've got it right, 8. Our guests have got it 7. 11 corners, though, has never come up.
It's going to come up this week now.
Never come up, so we'll see. People at home, remember, you can play along too. Just head over to coral.co.uk, answer questions correctly to win cash prizes, but please gamble responsibly. Noobs, listen, thanks ever so much for coming on.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Absolute
pleasure.
Noobs.
No worries.
Best of luck as well going forward with all the keynote speaking and motivational speaking. It's brilliant that you're going down that avenue and helping others. Coley, paddle. We've got paddle again
tomorrow, mate.
Tomorrow.
I actually got a nice compliment from someone yesterday when I was playing. He said, I've watched you and you sort of improved so much in a week. I don't know if is that a compliment or a backhanded compliment?
Let's hope he's there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right, remember, you can find us on the Joe YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast from. You have been listening to All To Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral. We'll see you next time.
You've been watching All To Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.